In the summer semester of 1942, Martin Heidegger held the last of a series of lecture courses on Hölderlin's hymns that he had begun in the winter semester of 1934-35 with interpretations of Germanian and the Rhine poem, and then after a long pause, resumed in this winter of 1942 with a course dedicated actually 41-42, a course dedicated to the poem Andenken. Then the third and final lecture course in the spring was devoted to the poem entitled the Ister, a title that given this unfinished text by Hölderlin by Norbert Hellingrath. Hölderlin, it was unfinished and didn't give it a title. Now, in these lectures, Heidegger sought to interpret Hölderlin's poetry in general, and in particular what he called his river poems, as nothing less than an exemplary poetical articulation of the historical destiny of Germany. And indeed, Heidegger could hardly have picked a more fateful moment to interrogate this destiny, for in the year 1941, Hitler Germany, with its allies, had taken it upon themselves to decide not only the destiny of Europe, but of the world. However, at the precise moment that Heidegger began his lectures in April of 1942, the outcome of the struggle that had started so brilliantly for Germany had begun to look a little dubious. The United States had entered the war in December of 1941 as a result of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, thereby giving the conflict a truly global dimension. In Europe itself, the overwhelming victories of the Wehrmacht of 1939 and 1940 and the initially rapid advances of Operation Barbarossa, penetrating deep into the Soviet Union, all of this had by the winter of 1941-42 ground to a halt before the gates of Moscow. That winter saw the first important setbacks of the war for Germany as the Red Army mounted a series of successful counterattacks that first stopped and then drove back the Wehrmacht hundreds of kilometers, thereby imposing on Germany its first significant military setbacks of the war. Heidegger's meditation on the historical significance of Hölderlin's poetry thus stands in an extremely complex but undeniable relationship to the historical events that were unfolding at that time. To be sure, in Heidegger's reading, there's no place for anything like a biologically grounded notion of Lebensraum, which largely motivated the Nazi push eastward, at least ideologically. But in a more sublimated and perhaps more symbolic fashion, a number of strange coincidences emerge that demand further thought. Let me therefore recall a little bit more precisely some of the political military events that preceded and accompanied Heidegger's lecture course.
So it has a lot been written on the relation between biography and philosophy since 3 volumes of Heidegger's Black Notebooks were published in January 2014. These volumes are entitled Considerations. They contain thoughts and philosophical notes which Heidegger has written between 1931 and 1941. Now, the reason why the publication of these notebooks has again raised the question of the relation between biography and philosophy is their most banal and ignorant anti-Semitic passages. It was already well known before the publication of the Black Notebooks that Heidegger was a member of the NSDAP, that he shared the Nazi ideology, that that he wanted the university to take part in the National Socialist Revolution when he was appointed as rector of Freiburg University in 1933.